There are so many questions in the world, it's quite uncanny. But if you ever need advice, ask a tranny. All right, see, yeah, there you go. It's welcome to the Approximate Podcast, everybody. My name's Jamie French, and you are listening to a brand new show, the very first episode of a show I call Ask a Tranny. As mentioned in the song that took me so long to write, 6 months on that song. 6 months on that song. Can you believe it? I pulled that thing out of my ass about 5 minutes before I turned the computer on. So here's the premise of the show. It's real simple. You ask a tranny. Ask a tranny. You send in your questions to approximatepodcast@gmail.com, and I answer your questions. It's that simple. And I asked some people on Twitter a little earlier today to send in some questions, and if we got X number of questions, then I would put on a live stream. And here we are. Despite all the technical difficulties in the world, we made it. Hey, everybody in the chat room. So glad that you stuck around or came back after 2 false starts, but that's the way of the business. Sometimes that kind of shit happens. Looks like we're past it. So let's just skip right on to the meat of the show. I'm going to pull up some emails here. Okay. And let's get our first question, our first pre-written question out of the way. Now, I'll get to some stuff in the chat room, but let's get these people that jumped on board first. Let's get them answered. So first question. First official question on Ask a Tranny is from Evan. I won't use any last names, and just for anonymity's sake, just to keep everybody safe and good. Evan asks 3 questions. Well, that's the whole fucking show right there. But let's start off with question number 1. Evan sent me this first question. It says, I have been booked to take part in a photo session. It's my first time. Should I do warm-ups? If so, how much and what kind? Well, that's a very good question. Your first photo shoot. Congratulations, first and foremost. That's awesome. Not quite sure what you mean by warm-ups. So what I'll do, your ambiguity, I thank you for that, has allowed me to kill a bunch of time by guessing what you mean at that. Warm-ups. Well, I guess the first thing if you mean warm-ups as to how to present yourself on film, like taking pictures to find out what your best poses and best angles are, yeah, you should absolutely do that. You whip out your phone, you grab your camera, whatever you have access to, and you practice posing. You find your best side as far as your face goes. You find the good angles. You find the good distance. That's something that any photographer or videographer you work with will want to know. They'll actually appreciate that you have that foresight to know where your where your best angles are. So yeah, go ahead and do that if that's what you mean by warm up. If by warm up you mean exercises you should do, I guess maybe to stay limber or something. I mean, I don't know the details of the shoot that you're going to do. But yeah, I guess it's always a good idea to, take a jog an hour beforehand, get your blood pumping, get the air in your lungs, do some stretches, which they say is not such a good idea. Stretching's kind of a false thing that's kind of been disproven. But if you fucking stretch, yeah, get your body going, warm up, if that's what you mean. If that's a second thing, if a third thing is, if by warm up you mean, I don't know, are you talking about like a hardcore set? Is this porn? Is this adult work? If you're talking about warming up as far as, I don't know, butt stuff, sorry, never said this was a family show, everyone. If if you mean that, yeah, play with toys, figure out your body, enema. Don't eat a day beforehand, and when you do eat at that 24-hour mark before the day of the shoot, take an Imodium and cleanse yourself properly. Have everything come out in a nice, neat package so you don't have to worry about your guts. If you want details on that, I can answer them, but because your question was so vague, I don't know exactly what I'm answering. So those are like the 3 kinds of warm-ups I imagine as far as you having your first shoot and preparing for it. I hope I answered what your question was. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move on to the next question. Notice that I'm looking at the camera and not at the chat room. I'm sure you've probably, Evan, if you're in the room, that you've probably spoken up and have tried to correct me. I didn't look. You know why? Because I'm a bit of an asshole. So we're gonna get to details later, but I want to kind of power through your email because you did send me 3 questions, and I think they're questions that are worth answering. So your second question is, let's see. I'm into mild BDSM. Is there any muscle rub I should use? Oh, I see. Your second question is a part 2 to your first question. I read it wrong when I was prepping for the show. I thought you were just saying you're into BDSM. No, you're doing a BDSM shoot. Oh, well then, by all means, all of the things I said apply. You want to cleanse yourself. You want to, take a little jog around the block, get your body going, get limber. If you're not limber, get the fuck up off of your fucking chair. Stop looking at the video games and the YouTube and everything, and stop jerking off the furry porn, because you got a job to do. And your job is to run around the block, get your blood pumping, get going, and bring your A game to the table when you meet your photographer. So all the distraction, put that shit out of your head, because now it's your job to create distraction. See, welcome to the other side of the fence. You no longer get to enjoy things. Now you get to make things that people enjoy. And that takes work and discipline. So do all of the stuff that I said beforehand. And you had a question. Let's see, it was you're doing a BDSM shoot. Is there any muscle rub I should use? Okay, well this, I saw this this question, and I don't do a whole lot of the BDSM thing. I fake it the few times that I've had to do it. I know it's supposed to look good, but I'm not a lifestyle person, and I know there's very definitive rules about being in BDSM. So what I did was I contacted a professional. I contacted my good buddy Stephanie Special. If you guys are into trans porn, you know her. She's the tall, lanky motherfucker with the glasses and is into all of the BDSM stuff. So I asked her, I said, when it's time for cool down during a BDSM session, is there any kind of muscle rubs or any kind of like cool down kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Is there a way to end a BDSM session properly that kind of get your body back into shape, especially if it's a hardcore kind of deal? And she wrote back, and Stephanie says, yeah, there are several things that you can do after a BDSM session. Again, not a family show. Never said it was. Let's see. She says that it's probably all the things that you would imagine that you do. You take a nice Epsom salt bath. That's great for the muscles after a session like this. Now, I mean, my first instinct, because I don't know nothing about nothing, was to tell you to get some fucking some icy hot and a journal to write down all your regrets in. But she has a better answer. She says that you'll want to take an Epsom salt bath. And there are 2 kinds of like muscle rub that you'll want after a session. She says to check out Arnica, Arnica. That's a muscle rub that you can get that's supposed to be very good for like deep tissue stuff. And Jesus, sounds fucking ominous. And I don't know where you'd get this. It sounds like you get it from a medical supply shop. But there's a thing called trauma care. So Arnica and trauma care. Get a couple of tubes of that crap. Slather yourself in it after a session and see how you feel. Take that Epsom salt bath. Should do you wonders. She also recommends there's like foods that you can eat. She's way, way into this stuff. She says that you want to, what is it? I'm sorry, just lost it. Got it back. Okay. She says you might want to check out eating chocolates and other foods that are high in natural sugars. So that, I guess, get your blood sugar back up is what I'm taking away from that after a hard physical session. And beyond that, just fucking basic stuff. Drink some goddamn water, put the Coke down, drink some fucking water, take a rest, go back to your video games, go back to jerking off to your furry porn, take a nice bath with some Epsom salt in it, and rub some goo on your body. I think it's that simple. Stephanie's going to smack me in the face for being an asshole about it, but fuck her, she ain't here right now. Let's see. And then a third thing that Evan asks, and I gotta thank you, Evan, once again, you've let me kill a lot of time here with your 3 questions. The third question has nothing to do with Evan's shoot. It has to do with, it's just my opinion about 2 kinds of bass guitars. Anybody that has watched this show long enough, the Approximate podcast shows that we put on, or has paid attention to my adult work or my Twitter feed or whatever, however long you've known me, I'm a musician, and you probably know that bass guitar is my first love as far as an instrument. And Evan asks, a Rickenbacker 4001 or a Fender Precision bass. Okay, well, me, neither. I don't like either one. Neither one. It's both of those brands are brands where they do not feel good under my fingers. My body doesn't conform to them. They don't play right. They got fucking baseball necks. There are, of course, exceptions to the rule with these 2 basses. I recently have played a gig for a cover band as a favor where a Rickenbacker was placed in my hands, and I don't know what kind of model it was. It must have been a newer model or a specialized model where it had a very streamlined, like C neck, fast like a motherfucker. Fingers, all your fingertips, very close to the fingerboard. Loved that bass. Had no idea where I should put my thumb because, the Rickenbackers, they have that shielding over their pickup, and it's an odd kind of bass to play. But that night, I thought it was really nice. The first bass I ever had on the other end, you asked about the Fender Precision. First bass I ever had was a Precision knockoff. It was just Samick brand. Samick, for anybody who doesn't know, is it's like the main company that all Japanese model anything are made out of. So if you buy, let's say, a fucking Japanese Squier, a Fender Squier, it's made at the Samick factory, and then they just stamp the Fender logo on it. Same thing with Gibson or any other company that you can think of that has a low level brand. So with your in your Gibsons, it would be the Les Paul Juniors, the Epiphones. Those are all Samick products. Well, my first bass was a Precision knockoff, and it was direct from the factory, so it had the Samick stamp on it. And, and so they shave off fucking dollar marks for that to buy direct from the factory. It was fine. I learned my chops on that bass for a year before I graduated to some other bass. I graduated to a PV5 string, a PV Foundation 5, which wasn't like no big shakes, but it meant something to me at the time when I turned 16. Now I'm all about Schecter. If you want to ask what my favorite bass is, it's a Schecter, like a Stiletto series, Studio series. That's what I play right now. That's what I use on all my recordings. So there's that. To answer your question definitively between a Rickenbacker and a Precision, if I had my druthers, I'd probably go, just for funsies, I'd probably go with a Rick, just because I found more models of Rickenbackers that were comfortable for my playing style than I have anything by Fender. I don't like Fender, except for my baby here, my cheap $250 Fender acoustic. This motherfucker feels good to me. And really, that's what it comes down to. It's not about brand loyalty. It's about what fits right. There's no dollar amount that is wrong or right, and there's no model or brand that's wrong or right. You pick up the thing that you connect with the best, and then you pay whatever they're asking for, and you stick with that, and then you're able to make the best music you can. And I think that's the most appropriate answer. So that's the end of Evan's questions. We got one more. I don't want to keep these episodes too long, this Ask a Tranny thing. I'll keep it to a nice solid, try to keep it under an hour. If we can keep it at about 45 minutes, I think that would be nice for everyone. So we're done with Evans. We're going to go on to my second email here, which is sent by Peach. Peach says, Transbians, why are they the greatest thing in the history of human evolution? Oh, my goodness. Are they? Are they? Well, they just might be. And I think the reason they might be will only make sense to Transbians. I think this would only make... I think you can apply this question to any alternative sexuality, and by alternative, I mean less common. That's all. That's all alternative means. It just means less common. It just means that your numbers are lower compared to other people's numbers. Whether it's gay, straight, bi, whatever your deal is. I think the real selling point on transbianism, which is just like a made-up internet word that's only come into play over the last maybe, 5 or 6 years. It's just a fun little word for kids to use. You should never put a label on what you like. You just go out and you like the thing you like, and if you meet a reasonable person that is also into that thing, you guys you dispense with the labels. It's just, hey, my name's Jamie, you're Frank, and this is how we fuck, and that's how you do it. Or my name's Sarah, and you're Danielle, and this is how we put our fingers inside each other, and then now we're going to go get tacos. You just live a life. But if we're going to put a label on something and refer to the question at hand, the transbianism, I think the main selling point of that is that it's nice in a world where there's so few, it's always a pleasure to meet somebody that you don't have to explain yourself to. I think that's the main draw of transbianism. I think if you go out into the world and you can find somebody that you don't have to tell your life fucking story just to make yourself make sense to another person, like they already get it. They've already gone through those things. It's a joy. It's a joy. It cuts out an entire fucking load of baggage that you'd normally have to carry into some sort of whatever the relationship is. And it's wonderful to have that kind of freedom. And I think two trans folks or two gay folks or two straight folks that don't have to explain themselves and they can just be together and get it. They just get it. That's a wonderful thing to have. I'll tell you, one of the sons of bitches about like being a trans person trying to date, like, let's say a guy, arbitrarily, let's say a guy. Well, you have to go through that thing unless the guy comes at you with all the game in the world and he already is comfortable in his own skin. You find a lot of trans girls have to, if they like a guy, they got to go through like an entire fucking gamut of explanations and stories and things to get their point across to feel like they can even interact with the dude. And then or the dude has baggage and he's constantly reminding you of how you're a trans person but how he's cool with it, and that's a fucking chore too. Nobody wants that. You just fucking be cool with a person. Just treat people like a people. Just we're all fucking strips of flesh on a stick of bone. And if you think that any of us are anything more than that, you're thinking too much and you're wasting your 70 years. Life is goddamn short. You like who you like and you just don't make a fucking big deal out of it. You know, you are better spent talking about y'all's favorite food than how your sexuality or your gender or anything works. That's a goddamn bore, and it amounts to either fucking heartbreak or being happy with a bunch of bullshit in the way that you didn't need to be happy. Just don't. Go out there into the world and accept people that accept you and don't make a big fucking hurrah about it. So I think that's what's cool about transbeianism. Transbeianism. Everybody have a drink. As soon as I start stuttering, this is the drinking game. When I start stuttering, we drink. You see how that works? Now everybody's happy. Transbeianism. That's what's so magical about it. And that's what's so magical about any relationship where you don't have to explain yourself. So that's the extent of, and Peach, I hope I answered your question in a satisfactory manner. But that's it for the pre-written questions. I'm going to take like 5 minutes to look over at the chat room and see what people have been. I'm sure people are bitching at me right now. People have things to say. I haven't looked over there yet. I'm not going to look over there yet. But I will in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's see what people are saying. Oh, man. Thank you. I like the acoustic, too. It gets the job done. It does. It gets the job done. We had Navigate Torture. Is that what it is? Navigate Torture? Navigate Torture? Whatever. Navi says that's a good sounding acoustic, and I agree. I think it is, too. It's not a fucking Martin. It's not a Takamine or anything, but it gets the job done. It's a good little workhorse. Let's see here. Oh, my answer is acceptable. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that it is. I'm glad that it is. Do we have anybody else in the room that has anything to say? I'm going to give you all, while I light a cigarette, and I suggest you do the same thing. Smoking's good for you. Put hair on your chest. I'm going to light a cigarette. I'm going to take a swig and take a breather for just a second while you guys ask your last questions. And if there are no more questions, we'll end this motherfucker and consider this one a success, even though we had a couple of false starts. So let's see what we got here. Okay, I'm gonna stop looking. I'm gonna smoke for just a second. Everybody hang out. I ain't going nowhere. I just want to let the room populate for a second. Get the questions going. Damn it. It didn't get 3 seconds, light my cigarette, 3 seconds, I get a wonderful fucking question from Brett. And I'll answer that too, but I'm going to have a swig because my throat is goddamn dry. I've been talking like a motherfucker, 1,000 miles an hour. Okay, so Brett asked me, so Brett, I'm going to get to you in just a second. I forgot, there's a goddamn built-in stopwatch on this thing when you do the live streams. We're 33 minutes and 59 seconds, 34 minutes and 1 second, 34 minutes and 3 seconds. We're 34 minutes and 5 seconds in. So actually, we're doing pretty good on time. So let me go ahead and answer Brett's question. Brett says, what brings you the most joy in your life? Oh, that's easy for me. That answer has been stamped on the fucking front and back of my brain since the age of 15. And that is making music. That's it. Making music. Whether it's playing in a band, being at rehearsal, shooting a video, learning a new chord, figuring, practice. It's everything about it. My most joyful thing about music is sitting down all alone. Nobody's around. Everybody's fucked off. And it's just me and the thoughts that have been stirring in the back of my head and an acoustic guitar. And that's when I start to write tunes. And I think writing music is the biggest joy for me. And especially when it's at its rawest initial point. It's just you and the guitar and a notepad, or a little tape recorder, whatever you got. And getting those, when the music's at its most pure, when it's like fresh from the oven, that's the most magical music making time for me. That's when music means like the most. And then you try to shape it up and mold that clay, that initial kind of spark. You sit down with your, you sit down in front of your DAW, your digital audio workstation, or your 4-track recorder, or whatever you got, and you start to kind of cut away at it and make it something that other people would want to listen to. That's great. And then it becomes a total drag for like the next 20,000 times you have to mix and record and re-record the song. It loses all of its magic, but you still have that first moment, that inception of the idea that is a kind of experience. It was one of those experiences that makes life worth living, like very much like tacos. They make life worth living. And then once you get past the recording part of it, and it's out there, and you're sick of it. You don't listen to it. You think you did the best job that you could, and you put it away for like 6 weeks. And then you go back and you listen to the final product. And then it all comes flooding back, and you're like, this is why I toiled so hard. It's a good song. It's a good song, and it puts a big fucking grin on your face that nothing else can match. That's the kind of thing that brings me the best joy in life. So thanks for that question. Now you got your answer. Let me see if there's anything anybody else has to say. If I can keep this under 45 minutes, I'd like to do that. Thank you guys so much for sending in your questions and playing along. I really appreciate that. You're doing wonders for the show. I can only go so far. And Orion, the co-host of the show, who's not here tonight, we can only do so much, but we're nothing without you guys. So thanks for playing along, especially when the contact is so immediate. Having feedback on pre-recorded shows is great, but getting to sit here and talk to you guys is even better. And so thank you for that. You make the show happen. So thanks. So let's see here. So I got somebody asking. Let me name names here. Brett. Again, Brett with the question, asking, what do I smoke? Well, I've been smoking since the age of, I'd say, 16, on and off. And over the past, I'd say, couple of years, I've been trying to wean myself off of smoking. I can't be the singer in a band and expect to get away with smoking. It's not going to work. So it was Marlboro Reds for countless years. And then I decided to move to cigars, not even real cigars, like fucking corner store cigars, your fucking your Black and Milds, your bullshit cigars like that. Just because they took a long time to smoke, and after you had one, you wouldn't smoke for hours before you lit up another one. So I thought that was a nice way to wean myself off of smoking. And then I went from that to DeJoram Black Vanillas, which is basically a clove cigarette, but slightly flavored with vanilla. And I know, shut up, cloves are douchebag hipster cigarettes. I was smoking things like these long, I'm very old. I lay claim to these. I can smoke these, but it's the same idea as the cheap cigars. It's you smoke one, it takes forever to smoke it, and then you don't want one for a little while. They're dessert cigarettes, they're like after dinner cigarettes. So it keeps the smoking down, and because they're kind of cigarish, you don't inhale so hard, Now, that doesn't mean it's any better or any good, but it's a way to wean off of the smoking. So that's what I smoke. I hope that long-winded explanation was enough for you. Let's see here. Let's do a couple more. We'll do a couple more, and then we'll end this thing. Okay. So let me answer a completely different person. We have Jetsover Taylor. I hope I'm saying your name right. Oh wait, is it Jets Over Taylor? Is this a clever thing? I'm so slow when it comes to the name puns. I don't know how things work. It says, Jamie, are you a transbian? I've always said that it's a fucking hack line, but I've always just said that I'm a people person. I'd like to think that I don't have any particular preference from one human being to another, that it's the connection that matters. And I don't want to limit what kind of package that connection takes shape in, If the connection's the important part, then the flesh part shouldn't matter. So, and it hasn't. The best relationships I've ever been in have been all across the board. It's been all sorts of different folks. And the thing that bound us was the internal connection. So I don't, if you were just to judge off of the adult material that I've made, the porn and stuff, then you could easily think, well, yeah, that's a transbian, but that's all marketing. It's easy to book other trans girls that are trying to, they're trying to do the same thing you're doing. They're trying to make a name for themselves in this business, in this niche adult business. And again, everybody relates to each other. It's easier to work with them because there's not a whole lot of mental and divide. So it's easy to work with trans girls, and we all work for trade or diminished prices because we're all kind of independent and we all get each other's needs. You're not a big company, so I'll take a little less if you give me the content afterwards to use for my own devices. And you're like, yeah, totally. Let's shoot a scene. Let's make good content. And that becomes the thing that matters most, is making the best content you can. So you end up working with a lot of trans folks, and you put that stuff out there, and, nobody knows the behind-the-scenes stuff. So you are what you put out, and so I can easily see how I'd be seen as a transbian just by, just your average take a glance kind of viewer. If they just took a glance at my body of work, I could easily see them saying, well, yeah, that's one of these, trans on trans people. But that's just the way the business goes. That's just the way the business goes. And it's not a label that I give a shit about. I mean, it's fine. If that's how I'm seen, it's decent. It's a decent label. So I wouldn't say I'm transbian. I just say that that everybody gets a fair shot in my book. Let's put it that way. So thank you for that question. Zeno Madrid asked, how old am I? On my little a little escorting screed on Backpage, I am 28. I've been 28 for 9 years. I'm 37 years old, and I don't have a problem saying it. It's just a fucking age, That's how old I am. So I'm old. And if I don't look my age, it's only because of genes. I don't do anything special. I get it from my mom. She's fucking 56, 57, and she looks like she's in her early 40s. It's just, that's the way my clan goes. So yeah, 37 years old, and there you have it. Okay, I'm going to do one more because we're at the 44-minute mark, and I want to try to keep it at a tight 45, 50 minutes. So I'm going to answer one more question. Let's see what we got here. I'm not... Oh, okay. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. Silly question. Here we go. We got a silly question. How long will it take you to do 1,500 push-ups? Till the heat death of the universe. Because I can do about 10 on a good day. So there you have it. I hope that answers your question. We're going to take this show out with a song that I'm going to make up on the spot. So thank you, everybody, for your questions. If you want to see more pre-recorded shows or anything else we got going, just go to approximatepodcast.com, and you'll find everything you want to find out about the show there. Plenty of episodes, plenty of information, and links to neat stuff. So here we go. We're going to shut this one out. Okay, everybody. Thank you for taking part in this podcast. This isn't very good. Goodbye, y'all. Fuck off. That's what happens when you don't pay a cover charge. You get the bottom of the barrel. Good night.